riding the rails to the ocean. Then he'd leap manacled off the Golden Gate Bridge, just like Houdini had. He'd surface, hands free to champagne and cheering. In a year of shining shoes, Joe had saved $200. Another year, he'd have $400. Another year, his father might understand why he wanted to go, might even wish him well. In another year, Joe might be able to say goodbye to his sister Hildy, to Lying Man, his brother's grave. He might understand why, in a place he loved so much, he felt like he was dying. He was afraid of going home to bed, of being haunted by his nightmare. He'd give up all his imaginings, his longing to leave Tulsa, if only his nightmare would stop. He'd vow never to dream again. He'd be grateful for living in Tulsa. Lifting his head, Joe thought he heard Lying Man's harmonica. How long the train's been gone, baby, how long, how long? Reluctant, Joe stood, humming the tune. Negro curfew was 10 o'clock. He passed the ticket window. The clerk hollered, "Best hurry home, boy, else you'll catch it." "Yes, sir." "Boy!" The ruddy man leaned out the window. Joe held his breath. The clerk's bald head caught the light. "Do that trick again." "Yes, mister." Retracing his steps, Joe pulled a coin from his pocket. It flipped in and out between his knuckles, picking up speed, a thin ribbon of silver diving, weaving in and out across his dark fingers until it disappeared. "I'll be damned." The station clock read 9:55. Joe murmured, "Gotta hurry, mister," and turned onto First Street. Glancing in the windows of the Pig's Ear Diner, he saw deputies still drinking coffee. He ought to make it. A crowd was leaving the Opera House, women draped in silk and fox stoles, men in top hats and tails. Joe avoided them, studying the pavement's cracks. He was still in Tulsa, not Greenwood. Walking briskly, Joe turned into Courthouse Square. It was faster cutting across the park. Blue grass cushioned his feet. Oaks arched overhead. On the left was the Ambrose building where he worked and the Henley Hotel. On the right was the courthouse and the city's pride, a 7-story steel and brick inescapable jail. Joe bet it couldn't hold Houdini. They could handcuff Houdini, lock and chain him in a darkened cell, and he'd still escape. He headed northeast for another mile. Greenwood and Archer divided Tulsa like a cross. Bawdy houses, juke joints, and gambling dens flourished in back alleys. Joe stepped onto the northeast curb. He was safe. Home, in deep Greenwood. But he didn't feel any ease. He turned onto Elgin, where in daylight, children tossed balls, skinned their knees, and climbed trees. Atop the hill in front of him, he could see Mount Zion's steeple outlined against the sky. Street lamps cast gnarled shadows. Joe hesitated, feeling dread as he remembered his nightmare. His home, the entire street bursting into flames. "Evening, Joe," voices called from the enclosed porches. Shrill and bass voices blended with evening sounds, trilling crickets, a hiccuping baby, frenzied moths batting at screens. Joe couldn't see faces. He didn't need to, for he knew everyone, who lived where. "Fine evening." "Yes, Mrs. Jackson." "A bit late, aren't you, Joe?" asked Abe, a sweeper at McNulty's baseball park. "Visiting a girl?" asked Miss Wright, his third-grade teacher, now blind as a newborn. "No, Miss Wright." Joe exhaled, feeling his spirits lift. Deep Greenwood, Tulsa's darker cousin, a black small town within the white city. What was it that salesman had said? Joe had been buffing the final polish when the freckled-faced man, pleased with his daily sales of aluminum pots, dish rags, and lye, crowed to his companion,